I was listening to a radio show called, I can't remember what it's called now. It's on Radio 4 anyway, and it was about the science of Francis Bacon, Baconian science. I didn't hear all of it because I fell asleep, to be honest, but it started me thinking about the protocols of science, the modern protocols of the scientific method, and what's kind of being invoked by those protocols. I may get this wrong, but my understanding of the scientific method and the kind of protocols it requires are firstly that it starts with a hypothesis notionally. I know they're never quite as clean as this, but it starts with some kind of a hypothesis, and that hypothesis has to be of a particular kind. It has to the extent that it produces data, that it produces an experiment which produces data, that hypothesis has to be verifiable, by which I mean if you come back and do it again, if you do the same experiment twice, the second time you do it, the results have to be the same as the first time, so it's verifiable. Secondly, it has to be falsifiable. And I think this is something that Popper talked about, by which I mean that a hypothesis is only really valid if it describes an experiment which it is perfectly possible to disprove. I can't think of an example right now, but if you come up with an experiment, a hypothesis and an experiment which is perfectly verifiable, and every time you do it, sure enough, you get the same results. If it isn't possible to prove it wrong, then it doesn't really count. Anything else about that? Oh yeah, it should be kind of transportable, I guess. So anybody else repeating the procedures as you did them should get the same results. So if I do an experiment in my laboratory and I publish those results, someone else doing a similar kind of cold fusion thing, let's say, in a different laboratory somewhere else. Come here, you two. Come here. Come on, pups. Come on. Should do exactly the same results as myself. Come here, puppy. Come on, Phoebe. Come on, Phoebe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Phoebe, come off the road.
Thanks.
Okay. So someone repeating that experiment in a different laboratory, using the same procedures, should get the same results. Related to that, the procedures have to be open, which means that I have to be completely forthright and honest about the procedures that I've taken. I can't say I did some experiment, I'm not telling you about all of it, but these are the results I got. I have to publish the full details of the experiment. There's probably other protocols, I can't think of any others right now, but those are the basic ones as far as I'm concerned. It should be verifiable, falsifiable, open to peer review. It should be repeatable by other individuals in other situations using the same methods. Like I said, falsifiable. Yeah, that's about it really, I think. So what I'm interested in, or what's evident to me from that, I guess because of the interest I have right now, is that is the kind of data that's produced from those experiments, the facts, let's call them. I know you talk about facts in terms of scientific data, but let's call them facts for now. Is the facts that's produced by those scientific experiments have a particular kind of ontological status. They're stable, by which I mean they persist over time, and that's demonstrated by their verifiability. You do it once, you do the same thing again, or you return to that fact-gathering process, and the fact is still there, so the fact is stable. It's interpersonally available. If anybody else kind of approaches this fact using the same approach, they too will arrive at that fact. So it's interpersonally available. If someone was to try a different approach and the fact disappeared, then the fact would not be. Then it wouldn't be a real fact. So there's something kind of falsifiable about that. Yeah, and provided, and of course, I have to give my methods for how to get to that fact. I mean, for me, what I'm kind of describing there is a kind of prototypical visual object. A visual object in interpersonal space. I'm in an interpersonal space right now. I'm on the salt line, this disused railway line where I walk my dogs. And up ahead there's a waste bin by the side of the path. And every time I look away and look back, that waste bin is still there. So it verifies its existence every time I look away and look back. There's a woman on the path ahead of me here, and I'm pretty sure she can see the bin as well. And if I was to ask her, I would have to ask her to confirm that. I'm pretty sure she would say yes. So it's interpersonally available. Anybody taking the same approach, anybody walking along this path in the direction that I'm walking, would arrive at that bin in the same way. So it has that kind of shared ontology. Falsifiability. Yeah, it should be possible to, if I was to describe this path to someone else, and they arrived at this location up ahead of me, and there was no bin there, then clearly I'm hallucinating. So there's a kind of falsifiability aspect to it. So I suppose what I'm saying there is that there's something about the logic of scientific protocols which duplicates the logic of objects in interpersonal space. And I've spoken before about the corresponding protocols associated with scientific writing, in which the existence of these quasi-objects, objective facts, is kind of repeated in terms of the simulation of the ideal conditions for viewing an object in space.